You know, I believe in the old saying that we are borrowing this world from our children and our grandchildren. My son is 4. I'm going to do things that I think are good for the long term of the city, not just a short-term political gain. That's why I opposed the parking deal, which is stealing money from the future, privatizing an asset that makes money for our city to spend it all right before an election. That's bad stewardship. That's not responsible budgeting. And I promise you as mayor that I will make decisions for this city that are for the short term and the long term, balanced, because I have a long-term stake in this city.
Andrea Ladodd Blackman, the Director of Business Development at the Cincinnati Herald, will pose the next question from our panel, and Ms. Qualls will respond first.
Okay. Vice Mayor Qualls, much of the blight in Cincinnati comes from low-income and older adults unable to maintain their homes. What plans do you have to help Cincinnati senior homeowners and lower-income homeowners to maintain their homes?
That is a very good question, Andrea, because when we look at many of our neighborhoods, because of the loss of population, we are seeing many abandoned and blighted buildings. Also, as we see an aging population, there are many people in our communities who find it very difficult to meet the challenges of maintaining their homes. Well, there are a number of avenues that we need to pursue and are pursuing. One, we're working in great partnership with the Port Authority that runs the land bank, and also working in partnership with local communities to identify properties, to actually get those properties under control. If they need to be demolished, we're demolishing them, and if they can be salvaged and saved, then they're being stabilized and are going to be put into programs like Come Home Cincinnati. For low-income individuals as well as seniors who may not be able to afford upkeep, we also are establishing funds such as Focus 52 to actually help create mechanisms that would support the redevelopment of properties as well as develop new housing options for seniors as well as low-income folks.
Mr. Cranley, 90 seconds to respond.
You know, getting by for seniors is tough, especially in a tough economy. And I think we got to focus on ways to reduce that burden. I have proposed taking the aggregation contract for electricity that we have and expanding it to a loan pool to help homeowners retrofit their homes to reduce their energy costs. We all know how high energy costs are on a month-to-month basis and how difficult it is on a fixed income to pay. And if we allow low-interest loans to be used to help people retrofit their homes to make them more energy inefficient, we will reduce the demand for energy, but also save you money to your pocketbook. The second thing I'm going to do is stop raising your property taxes. My opponent has raised property taxes 4 times in the last 3 years, 3 times for the streetcar alone. People living on fixed income, that's a tough burden. And lastly, I think it must be said that neighborhoods suffer property value losses when they are not safe. I'm proud to say that the FOP, the police, and the fire unions have endorsed my campaign because they know that I'm going to prioritize police and fire. They know that we've lost 180 police officers, and we have 10 companies browned out every day. And if you need an ambulance to get to your home, right now, we don't always have the resources. I promise you that will change. And if we can deliver basic services to you, keep your property taxes and your energy bills down, I think you'll make it, and we'll make it together.
And back to you, Ms. Qualls, for 30 seconds.
It's critical that we invest in housing options for low-income individuals as well as our seniors, and that's one of the things which I have done while I've been on City Council and also will continue to do in partnership with local communities as we see the need for seniors to actually transition and go to other living situations. We are a city that has many generations living in it, and we have to accommodate all of them. In addition, obviously we all prioritize safety for everybody throughout the city of Cincinnati, and that's one of the reasons I was proud to make sure that there were no layoffs this year of police or fire.
WCPO Politics and Government reporter Kevin Osborne has the next question, first to Mr. Cranley.
Sure. You've both chaired City Council's Finance Committee and been responsible for guiding the budget process. Yet, while both of you were in these positions, the city passed structurally unbalanced budgets, that is, budgets which were only balanced using one-time sources of funding. Why should we believe, and voters believe, either of you when you say you're going to pass a structurally balanced budget in the future?
Well, first of all, let me say that when I was chairman of the budget, Every single budget was bipartisan. We put more cops and firefighters on the street. We reduced property taxes. I'm proud of the budgets that I passed and the priorities that I put forth. My opponent has admitted that every single one of her budgets has been bad budgets. And under her watch, for the first time ever, the city's credit was downgraded. And the fact is, we have to balance our budget by being smart. You don't take an asset like parking meters and garages and tickets and sell it off to spend and paper over a deficit. You need those resources on a long-term basis to keep cops and firefighters on the street. And you don't go spending money on a streetcar, which has a $4 to $5 million annual deficit associated with it, which hasn't been addressed, when you're trying to keep cops and firefighters on the street. I know the difference between good ideas and bad ideas, and when we don't have all the money in the world, we got to say no to the bad ideas and stay focused on the priorities like police and fire.
Ms. Qualls, 90 seconds.
Thank you. We haven't had a structurally balanced budget since 2002. The entire time that John was chair of the Finance Committee, we had a structurally unbalanced budget. During the entire time John was chair of the Finance Committee and also a member of the Pension Board, he didn't bother to show up 77% of the times to those pension board meetings, and now it is actually the pension that is one of the underlying reasons for the downgrade in the city's bond rating. But what we can do is we can look to the future and answer the question, how do we structurally balance the budget and how do we improve our finances? We do that three ways. One, we put in place shared services with Hamilton County, Cincinnati Public Schools, as well as other political jurisdictions. We have a commission that looks thoroughly at potential for cost savings as well as reduction in overhead that would come through shared services. The second thing we do is a complete operational review of all city departments. We know there are efficiencies, we know there are better ways to deliver services, and that needs to be done. And the third thing we do is we continue to invest in growth and development. We continue to invest in those things that bring population, jobs, and businesses back to the city. And that means investing in the streetcar. It means leasing the parking assets in downtown and the meters to the Port Authority in order to have the resources to invest and also have a modern parking system.
Mr. Cranley, your 30-second response.
You know, my opponent attacks my budgets. She voted for the budgets that I put together. And I think it's hypocritical, but attacking budgets that you supported. And by the way, the pension attendance. She says that I missed 77% of the meetings, even though she knows I sent proxies. Using her math, she missed 97% of meetings when she was mayor in the 1990s. 97% by her math. You know, we can have differences on issues, but I think it's hypocritical when she continually attacks me for things that she either supported or did.
Now we'll hear from some of your neighbors. Our partners, the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber, the Cincinnatus Association, and the Cincinnati League of Women Voters gave city voters the opportunity to record questions for our candidates. First, a resident of Mount Lookout voices his concern about the city's reputation.
Hi, my name is Peter Steele, and I'm from Mount Lookout. Cincinnati has for years not been known as the most welcoming of cities for diverse populations. If you were elected mayor, what will you do in the way of specific policies or activities to ensure that that impression changes?
And Ms. Qualls, you have 60 seconds to begin.
In the plan that I've developed that lays out what I would do in the first 100 days as well as what I intend to do over 4 years working with City Council, one very important aspect of that plan is looking at the issue of inclusion. Now that means inclusion for those people who are already there. That means lowering the barriers in terms of people participating in the opportunities, not just for contracting with the City of Cincinnati, but also participating with our partners in development such as 3CDC, the Port Authority, the Uptown Consortium. So inclusion means economic inclusion. It means also creating career pathways for jobs for young people so that they can take up a paintbrush, or they can take up a power tool, or they can take up a piece of chalk in order to actually have a career that supports themselves and their family. And finally, I would make Cincinnati a welcome and opening place and make it well known that we do want immigrants from around the world. whether refugees or immigrants by choice, to come settle in Cincinnati and be part of our community.